Whether you're attending a graduation, baby shower, or wedding this season, it's natural to wish your friends and loved ones a lifetime of happiness. But in reality, we all know that life is no fairy tale. Hardships are sure to confront us sooner or later, and sometimes with heartbreaking outcomes. But even when we survive and make it through to the other side, feelings of sadness may linger for a long time. Maybe not front and center, but humming quietly in the background.
My husband Aaron died on November 25th, but my father died on October 8th, so about 6 weeks before. And then 5 days before that, I lost my second pregnancy with Aaron as well. So they all happened all at once, which means all of those events, all of those traumatic experiences, and all of that grief is all mixed together, too. They're all sort of a part of the same experience because they happened so closely to one another.
That's Nora McInerny, host and creator of the podcast Terrible, Thanks for Asking, and author of the memoir No Happy Endings.
The book No Happy Endings starts with the year death anniversary for Aaron, for my husband Aaron, and right around that death anniversary, I unintentionally met someone, unintentionally started falling in love with them, and I know that from the outside, if I tell you, my husband died in 2014, and now I'm remarried, and we're raising 4 kids together, you would think, oh, what a happy ending.
McInerny spiraled into despair after her husband Aaron died, struggling to comprehend the devastation she felt.
It's hard to function. Grief affects your brain. We call it widow brain or grief brain, but it's real. There aren't even words for how devastating it is when you lose your husband, when you lose your wife, when you lose your partner. That's an earth-shattering thing.
Despite her world crumbling beneath her, McInerny kept these feelings to herself and put on a brave face for her family, friends, and the outside world. At the time, she felt like she needed to be a pillar of strength in order to hold her life together and show everyone she was fine. Looking back, she wishes she did things differently.
My son went to daycare right next door to my house, and I would wake up, walk him over there in my pajamas, walk back home, and lay down. I did a good job of sort of keeping that part of my life to myself, and that when people came over, I always made sure that I had makeup on and that I looked good and that I was happy for them and, that I looked really capable. And I think what would have been helpful is if I had known that it was okay not to be that way.
McInerny thought witnessing the depths of her grief would upset her friends or make them feel uncomfortable, so she tucked away her real emotions and the pain for quite a while.
We don't look at the happy things in life and tell somebody, like, okay, get over it. Like, you're married, good, get over it. But we do expect that when somebody has gone through something difficult, that it will be something that they move on from and not that they move forward with. As an American culture, we are sort of inundated with this cult of positivity that says as soon as possible you should go from zero to tragedy to bright side to lemonade to the sunny side of the street and the silver lining, and maybe you will, but that isn't the goal. The goal isn't to try to get to the happy place as soon as possible.
But McInerny didn't learn this life lesson until, oddly enough, she fell in love again with her now husband, Matthew, and was forced to let down her emotional guard.
Love makes you very, very present. And being present with Matthew meant that all of that grief that I thought I was avoiding, that I thought I could sort of like work around if I just stayed busy enough, it did catch up with me. And there's something about falling in love with a person that does help you realize the astonishing loss that you've experienced.
Once McInerny wasn't numb to her emotions anymore, she decided it was time to start living life on her own terms and really feel her feelings.
It doesn't matter if I get a gold star and everything and make everybody else happy because I'm going to die. And if I die having lived a life that was just about making everybody else approve of me, what was the point? But I do think that you can get there. I think you can get to that without waiting for your life to sort of fall apart.
So when people hear her story and summarize by saying, "Oh, what a happy ending," McInerny pauses.
When we think about grief as like this sort of like succinct moment in time, like, the danger in that is that you start to feel like something's wrong with you if you don't feel better after a really unspecified amount of time. Should I feel better by the time I go back to work? Well, like, my paid bereavement leave is like 3 days. Should I already be better? And you start to think that only one thing can exist at a time. I can either be grieving or I can be falling in love. And really, you're very likely to have grief show up as an undercurrent throughout your life if you've loved somebody and you've lost them.
The grief you experience becomes part of you, and it's important to embrace this. McInerny shares this viewpoint with her 4 children, who struggled with their own simultaneous grieving of the loss of one family and the juxtaposition of celebrating a new one.
Our family exists because of 2 huge events, a death and a divorce. And I don't want these kids to see this life as direct opposition to the version of life that they had before, just like this version of my life is not in opposition to the life that I had with Aaron. I think if we can teach ourselves and therefore show our children that loving more people does not mean less love for someone else, we are going to raise a generation of children with a much more expansive and generous view of what love is and what family can be.
McInerny describes her default reaction to tragedy as similar to a threatened armadillo, instinctively rolling up in a ball, unable to move, frozen in time. But today, she'd come out of her grief and express her emotions much differently than she did in the past.
Slowly. You unroll very slowly, and it's not as if you go from fine to, oh my God, pull up a chair, let me tell you the truth. But you start by telling the people closest to you what you're actually feeling when they are truly asking.
And that can be really difficult to do.
The fact is, when you are going through something difficult, you're the captain of that ship. It is on you to teach people what you specifically need and how you want to be treated. And that stinks because you've got a lot to do. You don't really want to teach people how to help you through this, but you do have to.
Experiencing the hard stuff and allowing change is part of the journey. It can be cumbersome and draining to take these steps, but even focusing on little goals like having one conversation with someone or allotting a certain time in the day to feel emotion can help get you to a better place.
Wherever you are right now, even if it is a difficult place, like, there is value in this experience too. And being in something, being close to something that is a perspective and keeping your eyes open for it and staying present for all of it is really valuable. If you can stay present in the hard stuff.
You can read more about accepting life on life's terms and not judging your feelings in Nora McInerny's memoir, No Happy Endings, available now. And you can learn more about all of our guests by visiting our website at viewpointsonline.net and by following us on Instagram and Twitter. Our writer-producer for this segment is Polly Hansen. Studio production by Jason Dickey. I'm Marty Peterson.
Viewpoints returns in just a moment.
How much do you know about migraine? June is National Migraine and Headache Awareness Month, so it's a great time to start learning. You probably know that migraine can be disabling and marked by severe head pain. But did you know that migraine is the 3rd most prevalent illness in the world? In the U.S. alone, millions of people are affected by migraine. And did you know that 1 in 3 patients with migraine avoid planning activities because they fear a migraine attack will force them to cancel? Are you losing precious moments to migraine? What if you could find more moments with less migraine? Ajovy Fremonizumab VFRM injection is a prescription medicine for the preventive treatment of migraine in adults that reduces monthly migraine days, and for some, cuts their migraine days by 50% or more. Ajovy is the only preventive treatment for migraine that can be taken quarterly as 3 225 milligram injections or monthly as 1 225 milligram injection. Do not use if you are allergic to Ajovy or its ingredients. Ajovy may cause allergic reactions such as itching, rash, hives, swelling of face, mouth, tongue, or throat, or trouble breathing hours to 1 month after use. Get medical help right away if you have swelling or trouble breathing. Common side effects of Ajovy include injection site reactions. For more information about Ajovy, including the full prescribing information, talk to your doctor. Call 800-887-8100 or visit ajovy.com.
Family members are typically the first to notice memory issues or cognitive problems in a loved one, but they're often hesitant to say something. A new survey released by the Alzheimer's Association, however, reveals that nearly 9 in 10 Americans would want others to tell them if they themselves were showing signs of memory loss, thinking problems, or other symptoms of cognitive decline. This month, during Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council are launching a new campaign, urging people to notice the signs and start a conversation. Ruth Drew is Director of Information and Support Services for the Alzheimer's Association.
Alzheimer's disease is challenging, but talking about it doesn't have to be. We say follow the ABCs, assess changes, begin a conversation, and contact the Alzheimer's Association for help.
For information on the campaign and resources to begin this important conversation, visit alz.org/ourstories.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Viewpoints is a production of Media Tracks Communications. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook to learn about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on iTunes. Plus, you'll always find podcasts of our segments and information about our guests at viewpointsonline.net. Join us again next week for your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.